In this video, I'm going to tell you a story about a man. It's a story that has been replicated over and over and over in government, in show business, in business boardrooms, restaurant franchises. This time, it's about a man with a small social media empire on YouTube.
It's time to talk about liars. Contact a lawyer in your state for specific legal advice. Do not rely on this video for legal advice. That would be stupid.
Recently, multiple women have come forward with credible accusations of sexual misconduct against online content creator and political operative for Progressive Victory, Steven Bonnell, aka Destiny. On January 20th, 2025, two videos were coordinated and released that were designed to expose Steven Bonnell of non-consensual sharing of pornographic material of a content creator by the name of Pxie. PresidentSunday decided to accuse Pxie, the victim of a sex crime, of extorting her abuser, Destiny, or Steven Bonnell. He went on to say he had to stop Pxie to protect her from her inability to control her own life. He needed to accuse a woman in her mid-20s of extorting her abuser via threatening suicide and demanding money or she will go public. People are disgusted at Sunday's making the criminal accusation of extortion, the accusation of being paid off at the expense of future victims, out of greed. I plan to lay out my non-legal opinion of the accusations. Then we'll look at an ongoing civil defamation case with extremely similar circumstances and see if Canadian Barstool attorney Sunday Esquire may have crossed the line. Absolutely no part of this video is legal advice. Always consult an attorney. Typically, consultations are free. Before we get started, I have one request. Please focus on the content of this video. If you disagree, fantastic. But 90% of the time, people like me put out a detailed video. People ignore the content. For a week, I've watched creator after creator ignore the content of two videos about PresidentSunday and focus instead almost exclusively on editing, style, and the most minute, insignificant BS. And it's almost always to avoid letting the viewers actually engage in the arguments against their protected creator. Please stop. If it turns out Sunday's criminal accusations towards a woman in her mid-20s that is the victim of non-consensual sharing of pornographic material, if it turns out they were baseless and malicious, could that rise to the level of legal defamation? First, we'll take a quick look at Sunday's criminal accusations and a piece of evidence that could be very damaging to him. I am not a lawyer, so unlike him, I will not make personal legal claims. I am not Canadian Barstool attorney Sunday Esquire. I can, however, have an opinion about the law. My completely civilian take is I can't make any sense of how Sunday can continue to propagandize criminal accusations. I may be missing what his brilliant legal mind knows with his decades of legal experience, but I'm just not seeing it.
Pxie did the worst thing that someone in her position could do. Rather than seek legal recourse or make a public statement denouncing the violation of her consent and dignity that these leaks represented, she seems to have ultimately chosen to try and profit from the situation by extorting Destiny. First, Pxie uses the implicit threat of her impending suicide and a scheduled note announcing it to pressure Destiny to pay out a significant sum of money, and then later switches to vague threats of public denunciations and legal action. Pxie and her friend Straighterade had used the specter of her impending suicide to alarm Destiny enough that he would be receptive to suggestions of financial compensation. Apparently, Pxie was hopeful from the beginning that she could get as much as a $1 million payout from Destiny. This would seem to imply that Pxie's decision to not go public is not because she is afraid of the repercussions, or else she wouldn't be threatening Destiny directly with legal action or public denunciations, but because she wants to profit personally off of extorting Destiny, who also, it must be remembered, is a victim of revenge porn. Pxie has since said nothing publicly. There has been no evidence of legal proceedings being pursued, and she has seemingly ceased communications with the people she was previously working with, instead posting on X about taking the LSAT in pursuit of law school. It appears as though her attempt to extort Destiny has probably paid off, albeit at the expense of every other person Destiny has victimized in the past and will victimize in the future.
According to this article, link in the description, in Florida, the crime of extortion is classified as a second-degree felony and can carry a maximum sentence of up to 15 years. The problem I'm having with squaring Sunday's claim is this number 4 down here. The threat was made with the intention to extract money or any financial benefit. It says the threat made by the defendant was malicious and made with the goal to coerce another person into performing an act against their will or refraining from performing an act in exchange for money or other forms of financial gain. The problem is, did Pxie even ask for money?
Straighter aid. She told me that Pxie seemed to want me to cover her entire tuition for law school. Others told me that Pxie thought it would be inappropriate for me to pay her anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million. At no point did Pxie make a specific or explicit request for financial compensation.
At no point did Pxie make a specific or explicit request for financial compensation.
At no point did Pxie make a specific or explicit request for financial compensation.
Sunday chose to hire an editor to help him complete his project. As everyone knows, a video on your channel with your voice produced to accurately portray your thesis that you will get credit for is your responsibility. A video that goes up on a creator's channel is the responsibility of that creator. Creators know not to publish to the public a piece of content that contains anything the creator doesn't want to take ownership of. Publicly accusing Pxie of extortion could be very damaging to her. It could cause her to experience harassment, public humiliation, mental trauma, loss of relationship, loss of revenue, permanent harm to her reputation, and on. It's important when making accusations to have done enough research and have enough tangible evidence to justify leveling serious accusation at anyone, especially a woman in her mid-20s that you just outed as a victim of non-consensual sharing of pornographic material. The video that contains these accusations is, as of February 12, 2025, still available to the public on PresidentSunday's monetized social media platform, where he earns a substantial portion of his personal income.
The United States legal system affords people the right to sue when false and defamatory statements have harmed their reputations. Defamation is a communication that tends to harm the reputation of another, to lower his estimation in the community, or deter third parties from associating with him. A statement is defamatory if it has a negative impact on someone's reputation among a substantial number of people in the community. Some states apply the requirement of fault in all cases, while others allow liability for defamation even without fault, where the plaintiff is not a public figure and the statement is not a matter of public concern. Every defamation claim, however, must meet the following 4 elements. A. It must be a false statement concerning another. B. The statement must be defamatory. C. There must be a publication to a third party. And D. There must be harm to the plaintiff's reputation.
This is Katie Joy, aka Without a Crystal Ball. She's a true crime YouTuber. She made a bunch of accusations against a group called 7M, which you may have seen a docuseries or 2 about. This is a court case involving her and 7M. I found it fascinating looking at a juxtaposition between what PresidentSunday has done and what Katie Joy has done. Let's jump in.
First, Pxie uses the implicit threat of her impending suicide and a scheduled note announcing it to pressure Destiny to pay out a significant sum of money, and then later switches to vague threats of public denunciations and legal action. Pxie and her friend Straighter Aid had used the specter of her impending suicide to alarm Destiny enough that he would be receptive to suggestions of financial compensation. Apparently, Pxie was hopeful from the beginning that she could get as much as a $1 million payout from Destiny.
Argument, count 1, defamation. 7M states the elements of common law defamation in Minnesota are that defendants 1, make a false statement, 2, to someone other than the plaintiffs, and 3, that statement tended to harm plaintiff's reputation and lower them in estimation in the community.
A lot of people who would otherwise potentially be ready to support the victims of Destiny's systemic abuse of female and male colleagues, are stuck between wanting to call foul on some truly reprehensible behavior and the realization that if they did, there are so many ways to spin them as the villains through Destiny's further manipulation of the victims and of his massive following.
We must also remember that proving defamation in a case regarding public figures, that the case must show that the defendant had actual malice, meaning the lie was a knowing one, uttered in reckless disregard of the truth.
The following is a statement that was put out on Reddit by Destiny somewhere around January 23rd, 2025.
A few hours later, I messaged a mutual friend, Straight a Ride, who I knew to be particularly close with Pxie. We tried to figure out the best way forward in terms of making things right, or as right as I could be for Pxie. In that conversation, we spoke about things I could do to alleviate the toll on Pxie's mental health. I took Straight a Raid's suggestions and presented them to Pxie. I explicitly offered to help her financially, having had it communicated to me that she was under financial pressure while dealing with this matter. Pxie responded, stating that whatever price she would ask would be too high. It would only result in making her feel worse. Later in the conversation with Straight Raid, she told me that Pxie wanted me to cover her tuition for law school. Others told me that Pxie thought it would be appropriate to pay her anywhere from $500K to $1 million. At no point did she make an explicit or specific request for financial compensation.
At no point did Pxie make a specific or explicit request for financial compensation.
At no point did Pxie make a specific or explicit request for financial compensation.
At no point did Pxie make a specific or explicit request for financial compensation.
At no point did Pxie make a specific or explicit request for financial compensation.
Pxie did the worst thing that someone in her position could do. Rather than seek legal recourse or make a public statement denouncing the violation of her consent and dignity that these leaks represented, she seems to have ultimately chosen to try and profit from the situation by extorting Destiny.
Let's look at what 7M shows as proof that Katie Joy Paulson has committed all three of these, and therefore it is defamation. 7M states that Katie Joy Paulson made a false statement by giving this example when Katie Joy posted that the dancers' lives are so tightly controlled and 7M is blocking their family from contacting them and controls their bank accounts. In another example, 7M states that Katie Joy Paulson falsely accused 7M and Mr. Shin of human trafficking, despite being unable to provide any factual evidence to support these baseless claims.
And he doesn't want to have a lot of members because he can't control them, because really what he's doing is human trafficking. But he says he's not trafficking. Anytime you're coercing someone under the guise of power and influence and taking away their rights and free will, that's kind of what human trafficking is.
This would seem to imply that Pxie's decision to not go public is not because she is afraid of the repercussions, or else she wouldn't be threatening Destiny directly with legal action or public denunciations, but because she wants to profit personally off of extorting Destiny, who also, it must be remembered, is a victim of revenge porn. Pxie has since said nothing publicly. There has been no evidence of legal proceedings being pursued, and she has seemingly ceased communications with the people she was previously working with, instead posting on X about taking the LSAT in pursuit of law school. It appears as though her attempt to extort Destiny has probably paid off, albeit at the expense of every other person Destiny has victimized in the past and will victimize in the future.
There's a lot of parallels between that Katie Joy case and what PresidentSunday did. And the biggest problem with what Sunday did is hundreds of thousands of people have seen that. And now many people are using his argument of extortion. This leads to ongoing harassment and attacks towards Pxie and spreading of misinformation instead of spreading of what actually happened.
But the blackmail thing and the extortion thing, I totally get why that is relevant and why that's such a main thrust of it. Pxie is making decisions because of her position between like Erudite and Destiny and all these other people. She's making decisions that are not only potentially implicating her in like crimes, but also harm her negotiating position. And if you see that happen, that's like it, and you see they're in a worse negotiating position and they're likely to get fucked over by this if they push it too far, then they're more likely to stay silent, and that puts more of an impetus to bring it out, right?
Sure,
But then why wouldn't they be talking to Pxie directly?
Even somebody that I sent a raw edited version of this to get some feedback from, who was in the video, in DMs after watching the video, still argued it could be extortion. This is so harmful. So what do I think should happen? My prescription is Sunday should stop. He should apologize at a bare minimum. My personal opinion, he should take down the video. Sunday and Kilo should work together to make a correction video. Sunday should return to every stream he went on. He should show as much, if not more, effort correcting this as he did spreading it. But will he? No, because nothing ever changes. Many of you will continue to turn your hard-earned money over to a fraud who made a hit piece on the victim of non-consensual sharing of pornographic material. Basically revenge porn. What was his motivation? Well, Sunday, what was your motivation?